Hi there, Peter. Hiya. So, tell me, was it nicer to go onto the practice pitch instead of the main arena? Tell me about the decision. It wasn't too much of a decision. We looked at the championships we've played, and the World Cup, for example, we've never practiced on the main arena for the match, neither in the Olympics and not in Australia. I mean, in the Euros, I think we trained 2 out of 5 times on the pitch we're going to play the match on. So it would have been unusual to do that here. It's a good feeling. We've got a really good practice pitch where we are. We can have a bit of a longer session. We don't have to rush through an hour, you know, so it's just benefits to it. We get 45 minutes at the pitch tomorrow before the match, so we're more used to that than doing it differently. And Germany then, what do you say about them so far in the tournament, about their first 2 matches? Well, it's when looking at the teams in this group, Denmark and Poland, like we've said before, with Pernilla Harder and Eva Pajor, have 2 exceptionally good players, I think, anyway. And both of those teams against us had a fairly low defense, and we had to try to work our way through their back line. And it could be a useful experience, but Germany is more of a comprehensive, complete team. They defend much higher up, and regardless of what players are going to be in the starting 11, they're going to be really good. So we're probably going to have to defend a little bit lower on occasion, and that might mean that we get more opportunities for a counter-attack than we had in the other matches. And when you are in a tournament and you play this kind of opposition, like we have a quarter-final looming, so we're going to see more matches of this kind. So it's a good match to be playing, a good game to kind of practice on. We got Denmark, Poland, and now Germany before a quarter-final. And regardless who we're going to play in the quarter-final, it's going to be something similar. We have to be clinical in our counter-attacks, and we have been very good at that in many tournaments before. So that feels good. It's a very skilled Germany, but defending a little bit lower, and we're going to get some more opportunities for a counter-attack. Peter, you are also used to this very position. You are already through before the final group match, and you usually come up with some weird stuff then. What have you planned this time? Well, I'm not really all that bad, I think, but it's really, I mean, you might think that we're going to go crazy, we're going to do this or something, but there are always new discussions. You know, it's not like we did that time, so we're going to do that this time too. No, we're looking at different things. And the times that we have done major changes, not many people have thought about that perhaps, but in the World Cup in 2019, when we did that the first time against the US, we were going to play them, and we had no idea what kind of team they would start with. But at that point, I think it was just Hanna Glas that could have played. When I asked the medical team, who can play 90 minutes on Friday, who can play 90 minutes on Monday out of the starting 11, and there was only Hanna Glas. There were so many players who had different ailments and small minor problems, you know, so I chose Hanna Glas. She had to be in the starting 11. So there has been various reasons for it. It's not like I take a page out of a binder and say, let's run with this. We talk it through, and it's the same thing when we come home after this. You know, I'm going to talk to the medical team, and I ask them how many can play 90 minutes, and based on that, then we're going to have to create a team, build a team where you have perhaps 8 or 9 players that can do that. So you have an opportunity to change. And that could be for tactical reasons, depending on, you know, where the match is at. We might have to do something, say, if we have a draw, for example, we might do one thing, and if we're behind, we might do something different. We have to do something to work with there, because we'd like to win this group and play the quarterfinal on Thursday. So we'll see. But it's not as if, I mean, it could mean that we do not play with the same starting 11. I've said once that we'll never have the same starting 11 from one match to the next. But then again, I change my mind sometimes. Peter, the match against Germany in 2019, many of the players who played that are talking about that match as a turning point, that they realized that they are no longer impossible to beat. So if you can give us some of your anecdotes, what do you remember from that match and how much that meant to the national side? I don't remember that much, to be honest. What I do remember is what you say. There was a lot of talk about the fact that we hadn't won against Germany and all that, but I've never thought about that either way, about statistics and the opposing team and all that. And when you're playing a national side, it takes a while to get 5 or 6 matches against another country. You know, it can take years. In a club team, there's more. You talk about that statistics, but as a coach or as a manager of a team, you never think about what has been. You think about how we're going to beat the opposition. And you have different players on the pitch, and the coaches are different and all that. So there's so many things going on a national side that's linked to the history and the statistics that are available. And that's what I need to relate to. I don't think that over all these years, I don't think I've ever mentioned when we're playing a certain opponent that we're playing them, we've won 3 times against them before, we've lost twice, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's in the present what is important and what we do here tomorrow. So, and I can understand it's interesting to write about and all that, of course, but I'm not all that interested, to be honest. And I should be honest, shouldn't I? Sometimes. I'm also thinking about Jennifer Falk. She has had a clean sheet in the 2 opening matches now. How important is that to her personally? And what are your thoughts around her coming up to the 3rd match, where you might have a chance to perhaps let her rest for 1 game? I think no matter what kind of a position you're in, self-confidence is important. And for a goalie, of course, you know, not conceding any goals, that's something that you really want to do. It's like a forward, like Stina Blackstenius, who can score. You know, you're only ever as good as your last game. And how that connects to what we're going to do tomorrow, we'll see. But I hope, regardless of the goalkeeper we have tomorrow, that they're going to keep a clean sheet. Then we're going to win the group. It's as easy as that. Peter, how would you describe the mood in the team right now? What does this team have that means their team spirit is so strong? Many players have talked about it. Well, they're good in general in looking after one another, and we're aware of the fact that they've played in certain championships, and some players don't get to play, you know, and then they're going to have to talk about that with me, and I'll have that discussion with them. But there have been discussions over the year, occasions when people have been annoyed with me, pissed off with me, and I can sit and watch them. They're talking in a group of players, you know, and they're laughing and they're joking with one another, and that's fine for me, you know, because somewhere you have to accept some personal responsibility for this. And you should never think that everyone is feeling great all the time. There are always some frustrations, you know, and one for a player, of course, is that you're not getting to play when you prepare for a championship. So you talk to one another and they talk to us, so we try to handle that. And I think that is the whole thing. I lost it completely myself today when I had to have a presentation, one of those laser pointer that didn't work. I don't know if you've seen Mel Brooks' film about the history of the world, when he's trying to hold a presentation and nothing works, and he says, "There's something wrong with it." That was me. I lost it, and it's terrible. And you're standing up there and it's not working. And then Magnus Wickman came afterwards, and everything worked. And I realized I'm not working. The fault was with me, you know. But you learn from mistakes. So tonight, before we go through tomorrow's match, I'm going to make sure that laser pointer really works, and it will. Why is it so important then to win the group to play the quarterfinal on Thursday? Come again? Why is it so important to win the group and play the quarterfinal on Thursday? You never know. I mean, if you win, if you lose and win the quarterfinal, then it's not important. And if you win, blah, you know. But the only thing we can look at, because I think the group, out of the teams that we can play in a quarterfinal, is very even. You can't say beforehand it's going to be the Netherlands or England or France will work better for us, because we have no control of that. But the only little detail you can look at is that if we win tomorrow, then we'll play a semi-final or Thursday, and our opponents will play on Sunday, so they get 1 day shorter. And that could sometimes be an advantage depending on how much you're going to have to work in that game, you know. So that's the only detail I think you can look at. Plus, of course, as always, self-confidence is always something special about winning a game. That gives you energy. And if you lose, it's going to take a while before you get back on board. We still believe we're going to win on Thursday or Saturday if we don't win tomorrow. But self-confidence and the fact that the others get 1 day less of rest. And how about Aslani and her yellow card before tomorrow? Well, first of all, I can start talking about VAR here, but it was a completely incorrectly given card. Even I can see that from my position. She gets her jersey tugged by the other players, and if you can't handle that, if you had VAR, you could see that, because I'm sure that they can see that in the VAR, and she gets a yellow card. Now you can only revoke a red card with VAR, but what you don't think about, but the yellow card plus another yellow card is a suspension. So, you know, it's not hard just to say to the ref, that was incorrect, withdraw it. That's my only answer there. But you can't say, you know, we're not going to use any players who's got a yellow card, because we have to save them, whatever. All the incorrect yellow cards, those players will play. Perhaps. Do we have any final questions, or are we happy? So, Johanna, a somewhat different setup the day before a match, that you're having a training session on the training pitch instead of here. How does that affect you as players? No, it's nice not having to come all the way here. I had to go here anyway, but, you know, being able to be on the pitch for longer and working out some of the details in our game. And above all, not having to take the trip here. We've done that on previous championships as well, and we had good communications about it. Every player had some input, and it felt like a good decision to be able to be on our own pitch to prepare. It doesn't matter to you at all, not having a feel of the grass here? No, not for my own sake. It doesn't really matter. I think it can be nice sometimes to go out onto the pitch before the match, just to figure out what shoes to wear and all that. But aside from that, we're used to playing on so many different arenas, so we prioritize not having to travel so far this time. Hi, Johanna. In previous championships, when you already were clear to go through from the qualifying group, you've changed the squad a bit. How important has that been for the rest of the championship? Well, it's very important, having 23 players available. And I feel that we've done it well so far. And we have an incredibly strong squad. And as a player, of course, you always want to play as much as possible. But I do think that we have a very strong squad, and let's see what Peter chooses to do tomorrow. But we want to win the group. It's as simple as that. So we're going to do everything to win the game tomorrow, and then we'll see how many changes there'll be. So how worn are you as a player after 2 full matches? Not a lot. It's something, particular about playing a championship, you feel that you get so much energy. And we had a day off yesterday, so we had a chance to recuperate and recharge the batteries. We all know what's ahead of us, and everybody wants to play games like these, so I wouldn't say that we are very worn, no. I'll follow up along those lines some previous championships. When Peter has presented his starting 11, he's more or less changed the entire team sometimes. How surprised have you been? Well, he is pretty good at communicating with us beforehand. But of course, there have been moments when you haven't known as much what is about to happen. But you also know in championships like this, there's plenty of matches, quite frequent, and as a player, of course, you're used to most things. And I wouldn't say that we've been very surprised, no. You talk about winning the group. And I assume then that you all know what that might mean in a potential quarterfinal and semifinal. Why is it important to win the group for you? Well, first of all, self-confidence. We always try to win every game we play. And we all know that if we win the group, then, well, we're in control. It's up to us, you know. But it's mostly self-confidence, you know. Winning the group is going to bring us a lot of confidence, and then we're going to have to take it game by game. That's how it works in tournament play like this. But we're all, you know, agreed about that primarily win the group to get a good chance to win the upcoming matches as well. A question about Peter and his leadership. The sports psychologist Beckbach has produced a study about him, telling us that he's very good at switching from being serious to joking a bit. How would you say about his leadership in that regard? Well, I agree with that. He is extremely good at communicating very clearly in his leadership. But there's also a balancing act there. He can also joke around and not take everything too seriously all the time. And I think that is important, particularly when we spend so much time together during a tournament like this. So, sure, when it's serious, and then you need to focus and be in the present, you know. But I think it's good to be able to balance that, to relax sometimes and just be human, you know. He has a very distinct leadership and good communication both on and off the pitch. Well, Johanna, we can continue when Peter jokes around. He did that earlier in the practice session when you were training, you know, when that suddenly happened. Well, we were in mid-flow there, so we got a little bit annoyed with him. But that says a lot about what kind of a person he is, you know. He jokes around sometimes, and there's always a laugh around the corner, you know, with him. And that's something you appreciate as a player, to be able to have that kind of relationship with your coach. You're playing Germany tomorrow. What do you need to watch out for primarily? Well, we talk a lot about counter-attacking against Poland, and I think we're going to have to heed that in this match as well. It's just that we have more players in the front there that we need to look out for. There's no secret that they've got some really skilled players, incredibly pacey, and they're very good one-on-one, you know. So it's going to be important for us to stop them there. But at the same time, I think they have a similar style of game as us. So there's going to be quite physical. It's going to be very important for us to win the kind of physical aspect of this game. And we're going to have to work with our own attitudes. We want to, you know, gain the ball high up. We need to put high pressure, and I see excellent opportunities for that tomorrow. Johanna, you were extremely successful down the right wing against Poland. I assume you're going to meet even more skilled left defenders as you proceed in this tournament. How are you talking to Aslani and the others about how to continue being so successful? Well, it's kind of fun with with this team. We were never satisfied. We always want more. So after a game like that one against Poland, even if we were successful, we were extremely critical about ourselves, thinking about the times when we did not succeed. So that tells you about our desire to always want more, and the further we get in this tournament, the better players we're going to play against, of course. But with that said, I'm thinking like Germany tomorrow. That's a team that's incredibly skilled, and they're not going to go on the defense as much as, say, Denmark did. And hopefully that will give us some more space, and we're going to punish them when we get in position. So we're going to have to hone the details, and I think we've got a good teamwork there. I'm thinking just Filippa and Kosovare, they know where I want the ball, they know where I would like them to be positioned, so it's worked well so far. But we're never happy, we just want to get better and better. So what would you say the secret is behind your excellent cooperation? Because you don't really play that many matches per year together, so how come you found that chemistry? Oh, well, you know, practice, getting to know one another, of course. And, well, you know, thinking back at Filippa and Kosovare, for example, they're two very skilled players with an incredible eye for the game. So, you know, that's important for me. I like running, going deep, and it's no more difficult than that, really. Just give me the ball, give me some space, and I'll run. And it helps having two really technical players with a good eye for the game to be able to harm your opponents. Well, first of all, I'd like to ask, what did you do to have to come here and go to the arena? Well, you're going to have to ask Frederick that. No, of course, you know, when you're asked, you do it. You know, it wasn't much more than that. That's not the discussion. No, it's actually surprisingly painless. Well, it was okay. So, what is your impression of today's group and the ones that you might play against in a quarterfinal? Well, like always when you play in a tournament like this, if you want to go far, you have to beat the best teams. That's just the way there is. Well, we have talked about the fact that if we can win this group, it might be a somewhat easier route. That's not a secret, and we're always on the we're all of us in the same page, and our goal is to win the group. It's as simple as that. So sure, I've seen a few matches in this championship, and many teams have impressed me. But in a tournament like this, anything can happen. It's a match every fourth, fifth day. So you really need to focus on what we do primarily. So what teams have impressed you? Well, I think both France and Spain, England now in their most recent match, very skilled teams, but we've known that already, you know, we've known that for a while, so I really expected nothing less. So it's not a huge surprise. They're good teams in this tournament. Johanna, a question about knee injuries. You've had problems with your knees, your injuries. How close a relationship do you have with the exercise model knee control? Yeah, I've worked a lot with that since the first meet with the national side. I was introduced to it, so since I was 15, I've known about it. I'm talking about researchers. I think this is really important to be able to reduce, ligament injuries early on, to teach them how to avoid it. And those of you who have been through this, that you should be part of promoting that and try to train people in that. Well, yes, of course. That's something that I'm very passionate about, because I know what it involves going through it, been through it, and I know how tough it is. So if there is anything I can contribute, of course, that's something that I would like to do. I've been part of several different medical trials and studies and filled out forms back and forth, but that's what you do to help, you know. If we can prevent this from happening, that would be a huge thing. I'm so glad that they're doing research on it, because that's required. It's not a secret. So I'm very passionate about this, and I do not wish this injury on anyone. Do we have any final question here? Well, how about Germany? What's your impression of Germany after the first couple of matches, and what do you see you can make use of in the match? Oh, they've shown an incredible strength, particularly in their attacking game. They've got really skilled players in all three positions in the offense. We've seen some really beautiful goals, and they're really good at kind of going on towards the center and come to a finish. And they got several really good crosses so far in their 2 games. So we need to watch out in the defense for that. But it feels a little bit as if they want to play the way we want to play, I would say. It's a very similar style of play in many aspects. So I think it's going to be important to win those individual duels. And as always, you know, when we play against teams who will go on the attack, things will open up in the defense, and that's where we are at our strongest, in our counter-attack. And if we can retake the ball high up, we're going to punish them. I see great opportunities for that. Very good. Thank you so much, Johanna, and we'll be right back with Peter. It might be a short break because he's doing his individual interviews right now, so we'll be back soon.